Hi, welcome to Country Basket Weaving. I'm your hostess, Sandy Atkinson, and today we're going to be working on our Star of David basket in honor of Hanukkah. It is I think it's a beautiful pattern, has a beautiful triple weave in the center here. It is a more difficult, it's an advanced pattern to do, but I think it'll be a good lesson for all of us. The material that you're going to need for this pattern is as follows. You're going to need 1/4 inch flat dyed evening blue, cut 39 pieces at 33 inches long, 1/4 inch flat dyed royal blue, cut 6 pieces 33 inches long. You'll need extra from both of those colors for the weavers. Number 2 round reed dyed evening blue, and the silver mylar lacing ribbon. Make sure you've soaked your reed well and mark the centers on 18 of the pieces that are dyed the evening blue. That's the lighter blue. And with the center marks, on the table here, I went ahead and used a pencil because this will come off from my table. And I have drawn my hexagon here on the table. And it's a 1/2 inch sides on each one of it. And if you can do this on a table or a work area that you're going to be working on, it makes this basket layout so much easier, and I think you'll understand it better. My first piece, I've already marked my pieces on the wrong side. Here's my center mark. I'm going to line it up in the center of this top mark here. My next piece is going to line up over my first one, and again the center lined up on the top, on the side piece here. This layout, by the way, is a shaker cheese basket layout, and then it's added to it, and that's how we came up with this Star of David. My third piece is going to weave over the end here, under my piece that's laid out there, and again I'm lining up the center on my mark on the table. Fourth piece is going to weave under and then over. My center lines up the center mark on my table. My fifth piece is going to weave from here under, over, and under. Bring up my center mark, and again I'm centering it on that center line on the table. I moved these, so I just need to take a second and readjust them. Okay, my sixth piece is going to weave, and you noticed I've worked my way around from the right up to the left. I'm going to be under and then over. I'm over this piece here. I'm under this, that was my very first piece I laid out, and then I'm over. And draw it up until I find my center mark. There's my center mark. And I'm lining that center mark up with the center on my drawing. Now you can see my hexagon shape in here. Now on this piece here, this is my first piece here, and the piece that it crosses, we have to do what we call lock the top. And that will hold it all in by simply switching the places of those two pieces of reed. Now that I have my basic pattern laid out, it's a lot easier to start adding my pieces. I'm going to start here, and I'm always working at the top of my pattern up here, lining everything up. I'm going to be weaving under and over and under this piece and over that one. And again, I'm lining up my center mark with this center mark here. Give my basket 1/6 of a turn. My next piece is going to weave under and over, under here, over this piece, and under the last piece. And again, my center marks are lining up, and I'm pulling this down, and you can see I'm creating these little hexagons here. Now this is my second lock the top, and that will hold everything into place. Give my basket again a 1/6 of a turn, and we're going to add another one. I'm going to do a couple more for you. I'm under and over, and under and over, under and over, lining up my center marks. And here I have another top to lock. Give your basket again a 1/6 of a turn. You're going to be under and over, under, over, under, over, lining up your centers again. My center's over here, and giving this, you're going to lock your top again. Again, another 1/6 of a turn. This will be my last one in this set because these are done in sets of 6. Over, under, over, under. Guess I did that one kind of fast, didn't I? Lining up my centers and locking my top. Oh, I have one more to add this way. Under, over, under, over. This is a more complicated pattern, so I wanted to spend a little bit more time on the layout to help you understand it. Now I have 2 tops to lock. Both of these need to be locked. This one on the left and then the one on the right. At this point, here is my center. And from this point, I have 2 on each side because this is a 6-sided basket. Continue adding the spokes until you have all 18 laid out. You can lay out 18 of your light blue. Now that I have my 18 pieces in and they're all lined up, I just want to check my measurement. And at this point, with the 18 pieces, it should be from outer edge to outer edge 6 inches. So go ahead and measure all 3 ways and make sure that you are at 6 inches each way. Now I'm taking my 6 pieces out of the royal blue that I cut, and I'm weaving these in to emphasize the outer star so it really shows up. And I'm going to start at the end here, and weave it over, under, make sure you catch this one underneath. You have to pull the others out of the way, over, under, and line up your ends and draw this down. Try not to move things out of line too much. Keep them straight across. 2 tops to lock here. Give it 1/6 of a turn. And you're going to weave this one across. You may have to come back, and sometimes these points, they get messed up in the weaving, so you need to come back and adjust them. Over, under, all the way across. Here's one I need to finish weaving out. And pull that down. Line up your ends and draw this down and lock your tops. Give it a 1/6 of a turn and repeat this each turn until you have all 6 pieces in place. Now that you have all 6 of your dark blue pieces in, you can really see this star shape in here. But, and this is where you would take it if you were doing a shaker cheese basket, but we're going to continue on from here, and then we need to take out those other cut pieces, and we're going to start weaving this triple weave in here, which is a really beautiful pattern. Taking another piece, we're going to work entirely with the light colored pieces now, and I like to start in the middle, and I'm going to go over my first set, and that will be a joint right here where these cross, the 2 dark pieces, and I'm going to be over, under, and over, under all the way across. This part of the basket is fairly easy to do because you're simply going over and under. Notice that my reed is very wet and very flexible. And don't forget to put some salt in your water also, because remember that salt is going to help retain the colors. And just weave these pieces. I'm working strictly going one way, working between the weavers. I'm over my dark blue piece, and I'm going to finish these up, weaving over and under, filling in here and over here. Okay, you can go ahead and do that. Now I have all of my pieces woven in one direction only, but I want you to get a good look at it. Make sure that everything is centered. These are my original ones that I put in with the first set, and here's the one I just added, and it's right across the center, so make sure everything is centered. Give your basket a 1/6 of a turn, and we'll be weaving now in this direction. Again, taking a light piece, and I like to start in the middle. We're going to go over. I will be under the first one, over the second, under. This is that one piece from my last section of weaving. Over and under. I'm going to be under that center piece from my last section of weaving. If you move something out of place, you just need to go back and readjust it. My reed is very flexible because I have kept it very wet. That is very important when you're working on this pattern. And then out, bring your end up here and line your ends up with the other ends that are already there. That's why I don't mark the centers on these. I don't bother with it because I just line up my ends. They're all cut the same length. Again, I'm going to be under and over and under and over all the way to the other end. And line up my ends and get everything in the center. Go ahead and finish out the set that is going this way now. Okay? Now that I have my second set, I want you to see what that looks like completed. Then we're going to give the basket another 1/6 of a turn and do our final set. This time, I need to be, let me find where I'm at here, I'm going to be going this way here, and I'm going to be under my blue here, my dark blue, my first set, and I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to be over the second and then under, and this is going to be really tight to get this in. Give it some length, and I'm over and under. I guess I didn't start in the middle this time. That kind of threw us off, but it's the same pattern. Under and over. And see how this is kind of knitting this all together, this last row. And over and under, and one more, over that one and under. Again, I'm going to start here. I will be under the blue, and then over and under and all the way out. So you can go ahead and you can work out this last set. Now that we have the center all woven, you can see the beautiful pattern that this has created, and I like the dark reed on the outside to really emphasize that star shape. When you get the center finished, finish out each one of your points on the star, weaving over and under, and straighten out that. I've left this last one to show you. I started aside and I just worked back and forth with these pieces and weaving them out in an over-under pattern, and then I go ahead and I just clamp each of the star corners. Next we have to twine around the outer edge, around the blue star, the blue points, the dark blue, and we're taking out a piece of twining. I have 2 different end lengths, and I'm going to crimp it so it'll turn without breaking. We can get a nice bend on it, and starting anywhere, I'm coming up here and I'm looping over. Let's come a little bit. I don't want to start right there at the inside peak here. Let's start up in here. Looping over and taking the one on the left and going around. When you come to the point on your star, you're going to remove your clothespin. And also you have regular and irregular corners at each one of the points. This one is I'm right here working, and this one is a regular corner. To make a nice sharp turn, go ahead and put a crimp in there where the reed will turn. Oh, this one is not right. Let me do it again for you. Come around here. This is a irregular corner. See how that slides down in there? That tells me it's irregular. I need to come and get the one on the left and take that around first, and then bring up the other piece and bring it over. Play with this a little bit and get a nice sharp turn on it and a nice point. Then continue on weaving. When you come down in here, you're going to make sure you make a nice round section there, nice following the shape of the basket in there, and just work all the way around. I do 2 rows around the basket following the shape. Here I have this is where I'm talking about a little sharp turn there, and then continue on. So go ahead and do 2 rows all the way around the base of the basket. When you're back to start, when you have your 2 rows done, simply clip off your excess here, and we can come back later and do the trimming on it. Then you need to upset all the way around the basket and get ready for the rows that are going up the sides of the basket. I'm using we are using 1/4 inch flat up the sides of the basket. This is going to look very sloppy until you get about 3 rows done. But we always start on the outside, and I like to come back to the original weaving, which would be my dark blue weaving here, and weave opposite of that. Clothespin here, weave over and under, and follow the shape of the basket. And this is going to take you a while to do this because it's not an easy basket to do. It has a lot of shaping to it, and I can see I've come apart here. When you get to your corners, take your corners and pin them up, and then continue on. That'll help shape your basket. But you need to weave, at this point of the light blue, 5 rows up the side of the basket. Now that I have my 5 rows of my light colored blue woven up, I went ahead and I wove the 1 row of dark blue. Then I'm going to put in this mylar ribbon that I found, and this is really fun to work with. It's very flexible. You don't have to wet it or anything. And treat it just like you would your reed, and go ahead and weave in a row of this all the way around, following the shape of the basket. On the finished basket here, what I've done is my 5 rows of natural, and then I've done a row of the darker, a row of the mylar and the silver, a row of the dark blue, silver, and then a row of dark blue again, 2 more rows of the light blue, and then I have 2 rows of twining at the top. Okay, so go ahead and get the sides woven up, and I'll be right back with the next set. I'm finishing up the weaving of the number 2 at the top, those 2 rows that we need with number 2 twine. And when you do this, it's your last time to get everything straight, and so take a few minutes. Make sure your spokes are all straight up and down and spaced evenly. They get real tight here on your peaks of your star, so take a little extra time and play with that area and make sure everything is straight up and down. As I finish up the weaving here, that's exactly what I'm doing, is taking my last chance here to get things nice and straight. And then I will show you how to end it. It's very easy to end. This is where I started, and so I'm going to cut these off, and I leave a little bit of length on them, 2 to 3 inches, and simply take those ends and place them inside. We'll do some angle cutting too, and I'll show you how to finish all these ends. Now you need to re-wet and get your top spokes so they're very wet, and we're going to do that top braid. We already did it in this series once, but it looks so pretty on the top of this basket that I just decided to do it again. I come up here, and I'm about, let me turn this, I'm about 1.25 inches high up here. And I'm going to weave behind one, in front of one, behind the third, and it's going to rest on the fourth. Then I come and get the next one in line, weaving behind, in front of, behind the third, and it'll rest on the fourth. And again, I'm going to do this for a little bit so you can see this pattern shaping up. Pack things down. As you get farther along in the weave, it will be a complete weave. It won't be complete over here until I get all the way around and finish that portion of it. But as you weave this part of it, after you get about 5 or 6 spokes along, you'll have a complete weave. And so you need to take and make sure these are all packed down in tight and there's no gaps in there. Again, I'm weaving behind, in front of, behind, and it's resting on that fourth spoke. As you come around the corner, just take your time and shape the reed with the shape of the basket. Get it up here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm packing each one of those down in really tight. And the 2 up here, you'll see here how this pattern works. Because we have our dark spokes coming up here, we have a little bit of a stripe of dark in here, and I think it's a really nice accent on the basket. So go ahead and work your way around the basket, and I'll come back and I'll show you how to end that last portion. I'm finishing up the last part of this top braid, and I'm coming back to where I began, still following that simple pattern. When I'm back to where I began, here's my last 3. My first one over here is going to weave behind, in front of, and then it needs to slip right in there into that hole that was created from the bend on our first one. The second one weaves behind, in front of, has to go in here on the first hole, and then come out here on the second one over, or be our third one over, pardon me. Then this one down, it needs to go behind. And then again, you're going to have to, now we're on our very last spoke that needs to be tucked. The one that's bent over here, we're going to go behind it. And then we need to come between these spokes in here and go inside, because this one comes, that was one of my first ones down, and this one fits, the last piece fits right in there. And then you just need to pull everything tight. Double check the top of the braid, make sure everything's nice and even, and then you can start your trim work. On the trim work, you need to come around here. We're going to, this is the spoke, here's the spoke coming out, this is the one it's resting on. I'm going to cut to the far side of it. Again, here's the spoke, it's resting on that spoke, I'm going to cut on the far side. Try to keep your cuts all even and work your way around the basket. See how easy that is? Just try to make them nice and even and keep everything balanced. Now, another cut that we need to make is on the inside here. We need to do some angle cuts. Here's one of the ends that I had left from my twining. I'm going to come in at an angle with my scissors, nice and sharp, and give that a snip off. It should rest either on the weave behind it down in here or on a spoke. The same way, here's one here. This one needs to rest on this spoke right before it, and you're going to simply trim it off. Now, I know that you've noticed that I have a bow in the basket here. The best way to get rid of that and have it set flat, because it will set flat, is to re-wet it very well and put something on it while it's wet and let it dry. Sometimes I use maybe a couple of different rocks that I've saved, have nice flat bottoms on them. Those work very well. You can use a plastic bag filled with water and that will set on there. But be real careful, especially with the plastic, because sometimes you will get mold and mildew that will be caused from the plastic setting on there. So be careful about that. But wet it, let it dry, and then it should take a really good shape for you. Then you can turn it over. You can do your trimming before or after, and this way it'll show you easily how that angle cut is, and I simply come in here and snip it off. Now, because we're using all these dyed reeds, and the dye does not penetrate real deep into the fibers, we're going to sometimes end up with these little white ends. And you can take a magic marker or something and go in and pencil those out. I kind of cheat on that. Or you can save your dye and use a Q-tip and go back in with the dye and do it that way, and go ahead and dye those ends again. Either way will work really well for you. Then you have a beautiful Star of David. Makes a really nice basket at the table to use for rolls or to hang on the wall. It's a beautiful wall hanging basket too. But use your basket. I think it's important to use all these baskets and use them as gifts, or just use them around your own home. Next week we're going to be working on our Christmas sleigh. And I call this my fretwork Christmas sleigh. It was specially made by a man that we met on our travels. And I'm real excited about working on this one. It has some new weave in it that I haven't shown before. And I think it'll be real fun to work with. It makes a beautiful centerpiece at Christmas time. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. You have a wonderful and happy, safe week. Bye-bye.